insubstantial drifting mind. Yeah. So let's go back to that. Let's start with that. And again, with the understanding that we've all been trained to believe that if we align with that roller coaster of contradictory thought and feeling, that is our internal dialogue that we live all our days in the middle of. Yes, mm-hmm. Right. That is the most potent way to be alive. Yes, I think, therefore I am. Now, this is terribly wrong. It's terribly wrong. We've done this before too. We can switch it to I am, therefore I think. But the reason why I'm making a distinction with this thing, which is a cultural norm for all of us, mm-hmm. is because we do not have to ride that roller coaster all day long. We really don't have to do that.
Yeah. So why do you think we do it? Like, why do we think so hardly in that concept, or believe so much in that concept, I think, therefore I am? And then why does it lead to so much negativity?
Hi. Well, for one thing, because we are told to do that. I mean, this is Descartes, Cartesian thought, I think, therefore I am. And it is a, for instance, within American culture, we have all these different worldviews being enacted, right? People from Muslim cultures or, people from Mexico with Catholicism, right? But the ambient, the sort of the group mind, the collective unconscious, to use Jung's term, of America, basically is humanist. Yeah? So, and again, we think that that's because it is true. And the fact is, if you talk to a Catholic, they would say, oh, no, what I think is true. So what we're dealing with is belief. Yeah?
What is humanism or humanist? What did you mean by that? Just an ideology?
Yeah. Humanism is a very broad term, but it basically, it started to manifest in the Western world around the time of the Renaissance. Yeah?
Okay.
Right? Where instead of a religious perspective establishing what human beings are, with the Renaissance and then on going into the Reformation of the church and all that stuff, and then going into, again, humanism, which is that human thoughts, human needs, human expression is as valid as the religious expressions. So humanism is just a term which allows for the philosophy of being a human being is more important than being a Catholic or a Canadian or an American or a Muslim. Mm-hmm. And again, at a certain level, that's true. That is true. Human aspiration, human desire, human fulfillment, right, has its place, but it also has its limits. And does that help a little bit with
humanism? Yeah. So it was just a philosophy that the people came up with in reaction to the religion that came before it, the really intense religion. I don't know.
Existentialists came out of humanism, Cartesian thought. There is some religious humanism like, Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer and all these religious philosophers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's in a nutshell. That's kind of what humanism is, and our culture, our society, is based on, by and large, a humanist perspective.
Yeah.
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 Now, again, the difficulty with belief for the people who subscribe to any belief is they say, "Oh no, this is not a belief. This is the truth." Yes. So. We are working with a Zen Buddhist model. We are. That needs to be stated. And the astonishing thing about Zen Buddhism, which is also true of some mystical expressions in other religions, but it's sort of religion 101 in Zen Buddhism is what we are attempting to do is suspend all belief,
Mhm.
and then come back to the mystery and the miracle of being alive here on planet Earth in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy, in the middle of the Big Bang, in the middle of what happened prior to the Big Bang.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes?
It's it's not a riddle to be solved. It's a mystery to be experienced. Is
Right,
that how
right.
it goes? Yeah,
Reality to be experienced.
a
Good for you.
reality to be experienced.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. The mystery of life is not a riddle to be solved. It is a reality to be experienced. Good for you. And
yeah.
again, just for anybody who wants to know, that is Frank Herbert, and that is one of the quotes that come out of that astonishing series of books that he wrote called the Dune books. Yeah, and they are worth investigating. They're amazing books. They're very, very, very readable.
I
Yeah.
just rewatched the old movie, so I'll go reread the book or read the books.
The movie is terrible.
Yeah, it was whatever.
God, is that the one with Sting in it?
I think so. Yeah,
Dismal. It's terrible. Yeah. Again, since we're doing Frank Herbert, let's do a little Frank Herbert commercial. Frank Herbert was also into the environment so long ago that he was not called an environmentalist, he was called an ecologist.
yeah. That's awesome. And when was he around? What years was he around?
In the 50s,
Okay.
50s and 60s. And he was an astonishing mind. He was a very, very, very erudite, very knowledgeable man who had the artistry to then put all these ideas into the Dune books, which are also about philosophy and religion and spirituality and goodness and morality and ecology. For anybody who does happen to hear this, who is not familiar with him and his works, get to know him. He's wonderful. He's phenomenal.
I'll pick up some of his books and read them definitely because I haven't read any of his. And
well, on Thursday, if you remind me, I've got them, and I'll lend you.
I'll read one definitely.
Way back in the early '70s, in reading Dune. That was one of the influences that got me doing martial arts.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So before I derailed you, you were saying the humanist, how people around the Descartes time, it became a humanist philosophy that people started, using in our culture and society at large.
In the West.
In the West.
In the West. This is all throughout Europe as well. And the name humanism is referencing in opposition to again organized religious thought about what human beings are here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And humanism which was much, at least initially, was much gentler. That we are also here to be human as well as to be God's children. Yeah. The trouble is that it got more and more and more separated.
Yeah.
And then we get that lunacy of people battling over Darwinism versus creation. Yeah.
It seems like it's been going on throughout history, just like a kind of a balancing of scales of what is the right way to live your life, like completely religious or completely like hedonistic and like a
well, this is the result of berserk humanism is hedonism.
Yeah. Hi.
The result of berserk hedonism is he who dies with the most toys wins, and the reason why that is so destructive is because then people say, "Get out of my way! I am now self-actualizing into gaining as much stuff for me as I can get." Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get to the terrible loneliness that results from that.
I'm not going to get into politics, but it's like politics where people end up going too far on one side of the scale and become extremists, kind of. And what we're trying to do is a system, or what we're trying to figure out is just a system how to live a life logically, how to go through life in a logical way that's not so confusing and so fucked up, and so we're not bitching all the time, or at least so we understand what we're doing, so that we can go through life in the most logical way. I think,
so that we choose,
Yeah.
and that's why this expression of how do each one of us spend our heres and nows is one of the profoundest expressions of free will. And this is the theme I want to stick with instead of going in, branching out into what I view as secondary or tertiary issues. Yeah. I do think that Americans have the option to vote is an astonishing privilege. I do, right? But again, that is not to the point. A lot of people vote and still live their day in and day out in, to a degree, a self-imposed misery.
Yeah.
And that's fucked. We don't have to do that. Now, this does not deny that, I've said this to you before, I feel that, probably 7 billion of the 0.8 billion of us on the planet, 7 billion of us, right, live in degrees of real compromise, difficult life, like as a norm. The slums of Calcutta, the slums of Juarez, the South Bronx in New York, Compton, blah, 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 blah. So once again, what you and I are talking about is not positive affirmation, which is, I'm sorry, is stupid. Yeah? What we're trying to do is come back to using our nows with as much potency as possible.
So what I'm thinking about is like depression and anxiety, and I wonder how much that gets confused or mixed up with just a rampant thought in our minds that just runs all the time.
Again, as a trained psychotherapist, I will tell you that fully 80% is because we ride that roller coaster all day long. That insubstantial drifting mind, we align with it, right? And that is how we live. We live in absolute alliance with that drifting mind.
And why do you think it's so difficult for people just to, I guess it's because they don't really know, but why do you think it's so difficult for people to say, I am not my thoughts? That my thoughts are just a product of me existing.
Because nobody's told them. That's all. That's all. It's nobody's fault. It's like we haven't been told this. And of course, this is the what I view as the remarkable attention that that people in Asia over the past 3,000 years gave to things like, what is thought? What is awareness? What does it actually mean to be in the here and the now? And so we do have to honor that this did not begin with Baba Ram Dass, Richard Alpert in the 60s, and it surely did not begin with Eckhart Tolle, 10 years ago. This has been a norm in Taoism and Hinduism and Buddhism for thousands of years.
Yeah. And so all these different religions and cultures have thought about these concepts, but in the West, over here, at least in America, we tend to gravitate towards I think, therefore I am, which then leads to a lot of dread and existential dread, basically,
Yes,
and
you're right. Yes.
So it might be wise to look at other cultures and other people who have different ideas about how our brain works and how our ideas work, so that we can see that maybe it's a different way to go through life. And this is important because I think therefore I am can be very detrimental, because if we think we are our thoughts, then it's hard to disengage from all the negative thoughts that we have.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. That's right on the money, Alex. That's absolutely pointed. Yeah. Now, for me, in my lifespan, which begins to be, almost done, one of the wonderful expressions of exploration for me has been studying the world religions. Yes?
Yeah.
And in particular, Hinduism and Buddhism and Taoism. I have to say that. Now, You don't necessarily have to study all that stuff, but if you do look at, I mean, you can acknowledge through our talking about this, giving you the mirror to look at yourself in this way, that yes, before you even knew it, you were trained to live your days riding that roller coaster of insubstantial drifting mind. Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So you didn't need to read a whole bunch of Buddhism to get that. It's like, yes, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That is what I do.
And like you were, sorry, continue. Sorry.
No. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
Oh, just like Amos, our friend, you were saying that even after talking about these ideas and knowing this, we still do it.
Hi.
We still do it. And so we, just about coming back and reminding ourselves that we do that so that we can, align or step away.
This is also the process of deepening the questioning, you see, of how valid are these ideas, these practical ideas. Yeah, you do not have to believe in the Buddha to work with these ideas. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
You don't. You don't need to believe in anything. It's like, how do I live my days?
Yeah.
And the answer is certainly this is true of me. And as long as you've known me, I have said to you, I acknowledge that fully 85% of what I think all day long is an absolute waste of my lifespan. It's a waste.
And if you have the choice to change it, then why would you want to live in that mindset or that mind state?
But there's an initial process, right? Which is why you and I are offering these ideas, right? Whether or not anybody partakes of them is moot. It doesn't matter. But it is important, right, that in every generation there are people who are talking about these facts. You understand? And once again, the thing that makes the return to open mind, as opposed to, insubstantial drifting mind, is the conviction that it is worth our while to do it. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that takes experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So if these are only engaging ideas, that is not generally enough to get a human being to invest in working with the idea until the idea becomes a fact. Yeah? But this is the process of shifting out of riding the roller coaster every day to, fairly consistent unhappiness. Yeah?
Yeah.
At the least, if not outright misery. And yes, my friend, a great deal of depression and anxiety come out of riding that goddamn roller coaster. Yeah?
And in some cases, it's just easier or like for lazy people, or I don't know how to word this, but it might be easier to succumb to those negative thoughts and just ride the wave of negative emotions and anxiety and depression.
See, I don't think it's easier. I think it's more familiar is the thing. Yeah? And it does take an investment. And that is the rigor, right? Do I think that what Chris and Alex is talking about is bullshit, right? Okay, why is it bullshit? Yeah? And then you use that as a mirror against the ideas themselves. And again, the idea is that we have a choice in any now that we awakened into, where we can ride that roller coaster or we can disengage and then actually be in life as we're looking at it, hearing it, touching it, tasting it. You understand me, right? We are actually then living life, not our narrative of life.
Yeah. So now I'm at the point where, okay, so I understand that I might be able to turn my thoughts off, but I don't know how to do that. What do I do?
You just acknowledge, here I am again having shitty thoughts. Do I want to invest in this, right? Or do I just want to say, I'm not going to think about this anymore? It's that simple. Now, again, we will get into meditation as this goes on. Meditation is the tool that teaches you how to return to, again, what the Zen guys call Mu Shen, no mind. But that does not mean that, again, you are mindless. It means that you are not riding that roller coaster anymore.
See,
Yes?
I'll say I don't care because what I'm saying is I'm not letting it stress me out. And what my mom takes that as, oh, you don't care about anything. And like if we ever get an argument, I'll say I don't care, and she says, oh, you don't care about anything. And that's what she's interpreting me saying I don't care is I'm like nonchalant. I don't care about anything. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm not gonna let that get me emotionally wound up or
Right. Right.
I'm angry over that. And
And
maybe
I
I'm wording
say
it wrong.
that to be emotionally bent out of shape about an idea.
Yeah.
It's like at one point somebody dear to me, one of my teachers, one of my martial art teachers, said, I'm so concerned about the suffering of the world. And I couldn't help it. I go, okay, so what do you do about it?
Yeah.
And the answer is nothing.
Was your
Yeah.
teacher? So did he get mad at you, or what happened with that
He got a
situation?
little mad. Yeah, he did. He got a little mad.
Yeah.
Right? But he did acknowledge,
Yeah.
and I would say the same thing, that, if you were saying that in you being worried about the difficulty of the world, right, and you don't do anything about it, that's called self-indulgence. Yeah. And who
Yeah.
gives a goddamn? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're concerned about the suffering of the world, right? Well, if you don't do anything, even a little bit about it, who cares if you're worried about it?
Yeah. You're not. Yeah. It's leading to nothing besides
Indeed,
your hurt.
indeed. What you're doing. I mean, that's basically, that's like patting yourself on the head. It's like Louis C.K. with the soldier getting on the airplane. Remember that riff?
I'm not sure. No.
Well, Louis C.K. is flying first class, and here comes this soldier, and he's in coach. And Louis C.K. says, I'm going first class to do a gig, and here's this soldier riding coach, maybe going to be in a battle somewhere, and maybe I should give him my seat. And he said, I thought about it. I didn't do it, but I thought about it. Well, how does that matter?
Yeah. Exactly.
Not dissing your mom, right? But again, what I would say in opposition to care and to caring about what's going on, but not doing anything about it, I'm going to trade that in for not caring, but doing something about the infamy suffering that I see all around me. Actually doing something about it. Yes? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what do you think?
Caring doesn't really serve all that much purpose if there's no action. So it doesn't
There's
really
no
matter. Just action is what's important in that situation. Yeah.
Marco told me in the Bible somewhere it says faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
Right? I would say the same thing about enlightenment, right? If you gain enlightenment, but it does not compel you to be of service to other beings, who cares?
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Big
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, So again, I'm not dissing your mom, but this idea that I've heard ad nauseum is, if you are in a state of chronic concern and unhappiness about all the things to be in unhappiness about, right? But you don't do anything about it, who cares?
Yeah.
Also, that is a waste of your life.
Yeah. And so, no, I agree. And then I'm also thinking about the people who they think that the problems, when they're not that big, are so big that they can't just disengage from them. We make our problems a lot bigger in our minds than they actually are, and then it's like I can't just disengage because this is so important. It's gonna, even though it's not really, but this is gonna ruin my life.
Dear, you see. Now, if you are out working in the food kitchen to help, homeless people have something to eat, and you are concerned in that setting, right? I would say that makes sense. If you're sitting in your living room, sort of abstractly with drifting, insubstantial mind, being concerned, but it does not compel you to do a damn thing about it, right? That's called self-indulgence.
Mm-hmm.
And who cares? Who cares? Yeah? So you're concerned. And I'm sorry, but when people say, I will pray for this person, it's like, well, pray for the person and do something to help them. How about that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Hi. So, but this is what we do, and also people take great indignation against people being at ease. Well, once again, this is why we're not doing positive affirmation. But once again, Alex, right? How do you disengage from the roller coaster of discontent, shall we say, right? You go back into, okay, right here, right now, what bad is happening to me? With the understanding that there are millions, even trillions of living beings on planet Earth where the very same here and now for them is horrific.
Yeah. And like this, I'm not just like blowing air, but like honestly, it's been really tough being in this quarantine state for over a year now because I've been just basically at my house every day. And I do have to go back into that when I start to get, I don't necessarily get depressed really, but I do start to get down on myself here and there. And whenever I do, I just think like, how lucky am I that I don't have to work, like I don't have to go to work every day right now because I'm on unemployment and I have the ability to have a house, have a house and be comfortable in my house. And like, and like just those two things are actually, it's like I'm very, very lucky to have those two things, And so if I really just think about that, it's able to allow me to be like, okay, just relax. It's not so bad, just chill out, like take advantage of what you have, do something, use your time.
And then now in clarity, how do I use my here and now?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Instead of just stressing that over nothing. Oh, just it becomes the simple things that you stress yourself out about. I'm trying to think of something, but like just like stupid stuff. Like I guess it's even overworking. It's like, oh, I have to get this done. I have to get this done, and you build it up in your mind, and it becomes way bigger. And so then you end up not doing it at all, and then it stresses yourself out more over it.
The other thing also in being in a constant state of concern, right? Right? Caring, giving a shit, right? If it is too global and it's too sort of abstract, and again, you're not doing anything about it, this will also drain your energy.
Exactly.
It's a terrible use of your energy, which is limited. We have a limited amount of energy. And, in your mid 20s, you already know this. Yeah. Just hitting 70, believe me, I know that. So again, then it becomes a very important consideration about how do you use the energy that you have.
Yeah, I really like the way that you reworded it for me or repositioned the idea. But I said, oh, well, there's not enough time in the day, and you said, no, there's not enough. There's enough time, but you don't have enough energy because there's 12 hours in a day or whatever. You could spend all day doing something, but it's how much energy do you have to devote to that thing every day. And so don't waste your energy bickering and bitching because then it's going to take away the energy you need to actually do that, And then it becomes a double-edged sword.
Yeah, particularly internally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. No. So actually, what you just said is equally beautifully articulated. It's very. So if we talk about one of the benefits of returning in neutrality, let's not talk about positive affirmation, but just neutrality. Right? What bad is happening to me right now? Right?
Yeah, and I don't have to get too extreme, but I'll just say, like, I'm fed, I'm got shelter. I don't have any pressing, like I'm not like in debt that I have to pay debt today or I have to like, go do something urgently today. Nothing's urgently is pressing on me. I have basically all my basic needs met. I'm warm. I got coffee. I'm talking to you. Like things are pretty good right now. Like at least at a baseline, nothing's bad happening.
I would say pretty good.
Yeah. Right.
No, seriously. But you see, so what you need to go into now is why would I say pretty good when, once again, Pharaoh, Ramses the Fourth, Ramses the First, Ramses would go to war to have what you have as your norm.
Yeah. I mean,
electricity, dude.
Right.
Right. The computer.
Yeah. What we're using right now. It's yeah.
Pharaoh would blood to have such things. Honest to God, right? Central heating and cooling,
right?
Right. His chariot did not have a Bose sound system in it.
And even right now, what's going on right now is, every day you can look at like these. There's a couple different channels on YouTube, but you don't even have to go to the channels. You can just like type in like a flood, and then filter the search results by the most recently updated. And I've been doing that, and there's floods, all over South America,
Right.
all over Asia, Southeast Asia, all over the Middle East and Africa, all over the world. There's floods all over right now. And just watching this video of people from the same day, like yesterday. The videos came out that day, and watching these people suffer through these tragic floods, taking down their houses and stuff.
And again,
Australia,
that we are so egocentric about our species that we're just acknowledging human beings. With those volcanoes going off in Iceland.
yeah,
I mean, along with human beings being compromised and threatened and maybe killed, and there are millions of other beings also being killed or burned to death or having to leave. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. And again, so we are not denying that life on planet Earth is compromised. We are also not denying that periodically in our own lives, right, bad shit is going to happen. Why do we know that? Because having already lived life, some bad shit has happened. However, if we get real with this, it's not 50-50. For us, it is not.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like 90-10.
Yeah, exactly. And just using a microcosm of the past 2 weeks, I might have gotten down on myself a couple times because I'm bored. But then look at those videos of those people all over the world who are suffering, and animals, all these life species that are all across the world that are their lives are suffering right now at this very moment.
Like
And
horribly,
yeah, horrible. And
horribly.
and I'm doing fine. I'm doing good actually in comparison to a lot of other places or people or creatures or on the planet. So it's like just having that perspective is very important because right now it's actually it could be a lot worse. Things are not so bad.
Dude, unto death.
Not so bad. They're actually pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of Amos's friends, who's maybe a couple of years older than you, is dealing with terminal cancer. I mean, that's real. That is real. So again, this is why. All right, what do we do in the face of this? Realistically, what does a person of sound mind and body, right, who is not callous, who is not invested in only me and fuck everybody else? What then would you do? Do you stay in a state of chronic amorphous concern, which is misery making, and not do anything? Or do you acknowledge, au contraire, right? My life as a norm is filled to the brim, and therefore, I might experience a little bit of gratitude for that based on what for so many is a horrible norm. And in that, as my norm, in a state of gratitude, right, what then might I do?
Yeah.
What might I do?
Maybe give back if you can. Help other things.
Alex, you give back. That is exactly right. Yes?
Yeah.
And that is why he who dies with the most toys wins is not only cruel beyond expression, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Yes?
We still all die.
We still all die.
Yeah.
You're damn right. So, again, this is very pointed. And again, I don't mean to dish your mom, but what we are talking about here is trading in a constant, a chronic concern about the suffering of life on planet Earth, right? But not doing dick all about it, right? We're going to trade that in for acknowledging in the midst of all that how exceptionally abundant our own lives are, right? And in that state of acknowledgement and in that organic gratitude that comes out of that, right? Then spending some of our lifespan giving back. Now, doesn't that make sense, if you'll excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so to most people. To me, it does, definitely.
Just to you. Never mind most people. I'm sorry, but we are not concerned with most people, right? This is Steven Seagal at his one and only best. Yes?
Yeah. What is it? What is
Well,
his?
again, you know the reference, but I'll do this, right? So, and again, it was not, it was his lines as a character, so it wasn't even his line, him saying it,
Yeah.
but he is an Italian cop, and he was raised as an Italian with a bunch of good, wise guys, mafioso, as I was in Little Italy, where again, you say what you want about the mafia, and do they do heinous shit? Absolutely. However, there was no street crime in Little Italy. No street crime. Everybody was safe.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. So, um, um, I got sidetracked with that.
Oh,
One of the wise guys characters says to Steven Seagal in this movie, you go on about wise guys all the time, but and Steven Seagal's a cop, right? He goes, but there's crooked cops too, Lucky. There's lots of crooked cops. And Steven Seagal says, I don't give a fuck about that. It's about me, right?
Yeah.
So this is finally another thing that we're talking about as a foundational realignment. Yeah, is okay, the masses, for people at large, it's very hard to impact on the masses. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? However, individuals is a whole other thing. Yes?
Yeah.
All the years of doing therapy, my take would be, I'm changing the world one life at a time. Thank you. Yeah? And this does go back to the Buddha, that our task as human beings is to light one corner of the world.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind when you said that.
Right. Well, again, it's the same thing. Steven Seagal was saying, my stance of being moral is about me. It has to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
It does not have to do with what masses of other people think.
Yeah.
I mean, masses of other people, if you put them all together, everybody thinks different stuff. So you end up like the masses are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, look at any protest, you ask the people what they're doing there, they all give you different responses. Yeah.
So again, it may be that people could say, well, Alex and Chris, you guys don't understand because your lives are easy, right? And my answer would be, you're right. I have got to acknowledge that over 70 years, leaving home at 16, my life compared to the suffering that I am aware of, right? You're right. You're right. I acknowledge that. And I am so grateful for that, again, I pull up next to this homeless guy yesterday he's an artist. So instead of just begging for money, he does little paintings and little drawings, and he's trying to sell them.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's you damn right. And here's this old guy. He's an old guy like me. It was cold yesterday. Outside with his sign. So I gave him $6. I said, I don't have any room in my place for one of your pieces of art, but here's some money,
yeah.
Right? And he said he did this. And we had this little moment of laughing together. And he goes, I'm not begging here. He goes, I'm trying to give back, and I'm like, dude, you do awesome. You rock. And he was also a pretty good artist, I have to say, right? So again, in that moment, here is an expression of human compromise with this old man who is, trying to get by as a homeless guy, right? But in that interaction, we both had to do, there was a little laughter, and he got enough money to get a meal.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so the little moments like that can be really, can be beautiful, or it can be, kind of nasty, depending on like just human choice, really,
Human choice. This is this free will that we keep, keep referencing. Yes, I told you the story of the $17, and maybe I'll do that $17 story for anybody who's hearing it. So, again, somebody paid me in cash.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna open the door for my dog.
Hi.
Jesus, That one. All right.
Okay. And so this is not also, about how cool I am, okay? But it is true that as a group, as a mass, we have all been talked into, me and mine first, right? And fuck everybody else. That's a norm, you see? Well, that's a terribly destructive norm. Even if you have a whole bunch of stuff, you are still existentially in a state of isolation. It's stupid. It's terrible. It's sad.
For me personally, just like a very like a elementary school concept is if everybody was like that, the whole world would be a really crappy place,
Yeah, look at dude. Look,
yeah.
look. Shit.
And so if everybody was a little bit kinder, maybe the world would be a better place. But I guess that's a hard concept for
Right, but that is in part why we're talking about this, because it is true that the accent is on a little bit. Yes, we do not have to go work in refugee camps in Syria. You know what I mean? We can acknowledge that they exist. And, for, again, hundreds and thousands and millions of people, this is their norm. This is their norm, man. Yeah.
So, and then what do? We acknowledge that they exist and that people are suffering, and then what do we do besides giving back? Just like
no. That is precisely what we do is we give back, but we do not do it in a half-assed way. We do it as a consistent expression of life, right? And this is how goodness becomes art form instead of a regimen, instead of a list of what to do, right? Thou shalt not, or thou shalt, right? Yeah. This is about, imagine, just as an idea, the quality of life that one might experience if the thought was, what good can I affect today? Yeah. Right? Not as a passing idea like being concerned, but as an active principle of living life, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's in movies or commercials, probably a commercial, it's probably some stupid little commercial, but one person does one little act of kindness, and then it inspires that next person to go do something kind, and then it creates this line of people doing good, and then obviously the point of that commercial is the world's a better place if everyone's kind, but it's like it can be that easy, I guess.
Yes, it is that easy. Yeah. And the fact is, if we can start shifting, right? If we could shift as a species, it would be very close to heaven on earth, even with cancer and childhood illness and leukemia. You dig?
Yeah. I see it like we are all, Spider-Man. We all have the potential for greatness, so we should all take that as a responsibility to do good things. But we could be all stewards of this planet, taking care of it, and it could be, like you're saying, a potential heaven on earth. It doesn't even have to be a utopia, but it could be. It really can be a lot better than what we're doing.
It could be damn close, right? Yeah. In that moment that my peer and I had, that homeless peer with his drawings, and he's like, damn, he's like, great, right? And then he did that alabaloo thing, and we were laughing, and so in that moment, there was a little bit of relief for that man, right, in his great difficulty. And again, he had the presence of mind to enjoy that moment. He was really, the laughter that came out of him was real laughter. It was genuine. Yeah. It was real, man. Yeah. And because of that, I was gladdened. And it was again, quietly, it was my joy to be able to be of service to that man. Yeah.
And so I think these are really important because if you just gloss over it, it's like, okay, that's a cool story. It's a nice story, but I think if you really taste it and work with it and actually come back to that story more than just one time, you can see that what is so beautiful is little tiny acts like this between two people can actually make the world a brighter place, at least for these two people. And then they can be nicer as they're going out to the world and interacting with other people. But it takes just little acts of, not just kindness, but like, the appreciation, respect, awareness, compassion,
And
and
empathy, and
and empathy.
empathy. Yeah, I told you, one guy, he looked to be in his mid 40s, and I gave him $5, and he went, man, this makes all the difference. He said, this makes a world of difference. And I almost burst into tears. It's like, Jesus, God. I mean, dude, when was the last time for you or me, $5 made a world of difference?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's intense. It's really intense. And so I guess what I'm really thinking is we all think that in order to change the world, we have to push mountains. We have to become the next
Hi,
Elon Musk, or we have to,
hi, hi.
we have to do all these things. But really, it's really simple steps that we all can take in order to really affect real change or just goodness on this planet.
Hi, hi, hi. And then we get back to, and we'll do this another time. We'll go back to my dear old friend who said to me when I was in a place of existential complaint that, that you do good because it feels good. That's true. I mean, that really is true. It's the damnedest thing. But if you do an act of real goodness, right, it makes you feel good. It's the damnedest thing. It's
And
really,
I mean, I'm just playing the dummy advocate for this one. But why does it make you feel good?
I don't know, but it does. I don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Because that old guy, in the midst of him sitting there all huddled over, right? I saw him have his eyebrows went up. He's like, oh shit, good man. This is a meal. This is a meal. You know what I
So
mean?
so in my amongst my peers, doing good things for selfish reasons has become really disdained. And like, oh, you're just doing it for a selfish reason. You're just doing it to get.
The answer is fine, whatever. The fact is, the good deed is being done and somebody else is benefiting. So if you're doing that for a selfish reason, rock on, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
There's this
Yeah,
one guy.
all the people now who are vegan and vegetarian,
Yeah.
well, they're all doing it because it's good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but that is not the reason why 53 years ago I became a vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't care if it was good for me or not, right? Right? It broke my heart to see mahe mahe thrashing away into death for no other reason than some of my species wanted to have a good time fishing, you
Yeah.
know?
No, seriously. I mean, that is I don't know, like the highest moral decision. I don't know how I would describe that, but it's like that's a big moral decision, at least for most of the people in my like amongst my peers. I don't think I know anybody else has ever done that by their own choice, besides
See,
you. So like,
mostly girls, by the way, who are like 7 years old and shit. They go, no, I don't want to know. It's awful. I don't want to eat it. I don't want to do that.
yeah,
Right? Right.
definitely. No, that's awesome. That's cool.
But once again, this is not, so again, if you do an act of goodness to feel self-righteous or self-fulfilled, good. Do it.
Yeah.
Fucking do
Yeah.
it. Doesn't matter the reason behind doing good. Even the vegans, right? The fact is, there's a shitload of cows who'll go, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks. I get to eat grass and check out the mountainsides for another 15 years. Very good.
Yeah.
I am not animal sacrificed at McDonald's for you, right? And if you're doing it because it's healthier, because plant protein is better for you than animal protein, good.
Yeah.
Good. And
There's this
people say that, right? So that then they can sidestep out of attempting to do any good. Well, if it's actually selfish, it's compromised, and therefore it's bullshit, and therefore I'm going to stick with being selfish. Well, fuck you. Fuck you.
yeah.
Yeah? No,
Yeah,
please.
so
Please.
yeah, you're telling other people to not be good or not be giving, to not give money away because they're doing it out of some selfish reason. So you're calling someone out for being selfish, but what are you doing? You're not giving away, so you're being selfish too. So it's like a
If that's your excuse not to do anything,
yeah,
then we're right back to where we started from, right? So I would say that anything that generates any of us doing an act of real giving, even if it is selfish,
yeah,
right? Good.
Cool. No, I think I've never really thought about it totally, and I should have. But it's just that there's this one guy on YouTube, and he's become one of the biggest guys, 25 million followers, and he started off by just giving away money, and he's been getting his whole business. I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to think of, but his whole business model or brand, his whole brand is based around giving away money. So he comes up with really creative ideas to give away money.
Cool.
But what happened is people started coming up behind him and doing it to get views and stuff on YouTube because it gets a lot of views. But then everyone else starts saying, "Oh, you're just doing it to get attention, to get clout." Yeah.
I would say, fine. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool, right. The main thing is that there are either other human beings or other beings in general whose lives are made easier behind the gesture. Good.
Yeah.
Yes. Please be selfish then. Please be self-aggrandizing. Yes. The fact is we are self-aggrandizing in misery, so we, if that's the rubric, if that's the idea, right, fine. As long as other people or other beings are benefited. Cool. Fine. Be selfish. Tell yourself you're a wonderful person. If it then gets you actually doing something.
Something good. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's good. Should we leave it for there?
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good way to end it, definitely.
Hi, if you remind me again tomorrow, right, I will lend you the Dune book, and it's a meaty book, but it is an amazing read, dude. It really is an amazing read. It's very good writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to read it definitely.
Hi, and he was sneaky. Again, he's sneaky. He did these beautiful fictional works to push these ideas. I mean, one of the things that it's in the future, so they have this plastic that is, is just as good, it's just as beautiful as any wood.
Yeah.
But it's made out of plastic, and again, now that we begin focusing on plastics, right? We will have, plastic, because it doesn't biodegrade, could potentially be an astonishingly efficient, effective building material.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do a different chemical makeup with bottles and bottle caps so that they biodegrade in 6 months or something, right? But the actual substance, plastic itself, is potentially an amazingly beneficial substance. We just haven't experimented with it with enough focus yet. Yeah. And the outcome then is we could build buildings, then we don't have to cut down so many trees, which means that then we have more oxygen. You know what I'm saying?
Have you heard of the bagged earth houses? Bagged earth? It's like rammed earth, which is just a way of
yes.
Yeah, it's like that, but you do it with these bags. So these bags, they fill up one sack and lay it down. You fill up another sack, lay it down. You do it basically in rows of bricks in a circle. And what happens is the bags decompose over thousands of years, but it breaks down, and then it creates this really strong foundation for a house. But it's the same concept.
Indeed, yeah. So, but all of this involves shifting out of the exhaustion of negativity, right, into the work, but peculiarly, right, the energy that comes out of investing in positive expressions. You see?
Yeah.
Right? Which is not the same as positive affirmation, because positive affirmation, if you do not act on it, is just as lame as negative affirmation if you don't act on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a good concept.
Huh?
Just a good concept is positive affirmation versus positive action.
Right. Yeah, it's one thing if it ain't got that swing, Yeah. Oh. Anyway, dude.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is more to the point, but I want to stay on track with this, and for you to say things like, okay, Chris, so we're talking about this, what's the benefit? Yeah? Yes, let's do that. And, the benefit without breathing hard as we stop is that, number one, you are in the here and now with more and more consistency and not riding the insubstantial roller coaster of random thought, yes, number one, you are living much more actual life, number one, right? Number two, within that, you are not in this redundant state of complaint, which is a waste of life. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right? Number three, in that chronic state of negativity, it will drain you of energy. Yeah. So then you will do less with this miracle called the gift of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's stay on track with this stuff, all of which is practical. And this does come out of Buddhism. It does. Where, again, the initial expression of Buddhism was much more psychological than cosmological. Yes?
Right.
You know, what causes suffering? How do we alleviate suffering? How do we do that psychologically? This was what the Buddha was absolutely focused in on. And that's what the Four Noble Truths are about. Let's stop with that. We'll get back to them. Yeah?
Okay. All right, cool.
All right, dude. Love to you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, love you too. Take care.